people are not excited seeing Logan Paul not smoking.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, is that kind of on brand for him?
Well, like, I feel like ever since Vine went down, like, nobody thinks he's funny anymore. Have you watched him on Vine, like the original days?
I was not a huge fan, but I know who he is, and I know that he started on Vine. The Paul brothers as a concept are just fascinating to me.
How so?
I think that I'm not by any means the expert in this, but they were one of the early, like, if you think of original YouTube fame or like internet fame, I think they are one of the earliest.
They're the comedian Kardashians.
Right.
They're incredible businessmen.
They've been doing it for like at least a decade, right? Across all the platforms. But there must be such a cult of personality. And if, I don't want to jump ahead.
They're incredible businessmen.
Yeah. And like, can you imagine that you have to be interesting all the time, but also you're not interesting because of like you're interesting because you do weird sort of unusual things, or because you're like kind of willing to throw your weight into someone's face. I mean, which one just like told Dana White that he would quit boxing? Jake. He's like bartering with the head of UFC. Like,
but that's genius.
This guy started on Vine.
Doing it publicly, not doing it through email, not doing it through a message to Dana White's assistant.
No, I mean, I'm not surprised that it's public. His whole thing is that he has built clout. He has followers who want to see what he's going to do next. And so, bartering a deal with the UFC president, like, it has to be public. If he had done it quietly, that would not be on brand for him.
No, it wouldn't.
And I think in some ways, like, everything they do, I can't imagine that kind of pressure. Everything they do has to be public, even when it's bad.
Yep.
So
I don't know. Like, to me, it's kind of fascinating because, first of all, it is kind of like getting paid. Like, you've built a brand where like you're famous for being like people wanting to see you get punched in the face. Like a lot of people will go pay money.
Some people root for him to throw the punch. Like, it's weird. There are people who stand by or support them, right? As much as they want them to get punched, they also don't want them to get like knocked out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But this was interesting because it goes along with what you were saying about like it had to be about like where your whole life is, like your brand is that it's sharing your life almost 24/7, right? And it says Logan Paul has revealed, and this article is from Lad Bible. It says Logan Paul has revealed how his hardest week of 2021 came right at the end of the year, right as the year drew to a close, saying that it happened just as he gave up smoking weed on Christmas Eve. Doing that during the holidays, I don't know if he had relatives in town or if he had to deal. He's not married, I don't think, so I don't know if he has in-laws, but
or maybe it's just because it's like the next day you're so busy with your family, it's an easy way to be like,
dude, there's a picture in here that spoke to me because I've been through, I'm sober for several years now, but there's a picture of him, like his eyes are just super like look taped open, and he's clearly like taking a bath. And I don't know if any of you have any.
You can see on the screen right now.
Hannah Claire cannot see it, but
he's doing this in the bathtub.
If you've ever known anyone that's gone through any type of substance abuse or anything like that, or withdrawals from any chemical, that's something like you'll take like 5 baths or 6 baths in a day because it like regulates your body temperature and it can stop your heart from having palpitations. And it's like sometimes the only peace you'll get. So that spoke to me because, like, first of all, I laugh when people say like weed isn't addictive or drug. I'm like, yes, is it as addictive as other things? No, of course not. But right here he says
well, and you can have a dependency on so many things that are illegal or not considered addictive substances.
You can have a dependency on stuff that's legal. You just have access to it, so you don't think about it, right? So it says the YouTuber recalled how giving up weed just before Christmas led to pretty nasty withdrawals, including appetite loss and insomnia, things that didn't get any better at New Year's when he found himself suffering from food poisoning, which he claims he vomited more than 40 times. Paul wrote super fun New Year's story. I quit smoking weed on December 24th. Been having some pretty nasty withdrawals, loss of appetite, insomnia, extreme irritability. Oh, I feel you, brother. By far the hardest week of 2021 for me. Then yesterday on New Year's Eve, I got food poisoning, which was odd because all I had was a tiny croissant and a latte in the morning. I bet you it was just his body
It's just
reacting.
actually still
He's
withdrawals.
actually still withdrawals, and that combination just didn't agree with him. It says, I threw up 40 times and spent the evening sweating in bed, and all the pharmacies were closed, so I couldn't get any medicine. I don't think there would have been any medicine that could have helped him.
Like anti-nausea stuff, maybe?
Yeah, like maybe would have helped, but I was so dehydrated that I begged the only emergency ambulance in the city to hook me up with an IV so that I could replenish and go out with my friends. They said it wasn't possible because
He
they
begged the only emergency ambulance to give him IV so he could go out with his friends.
Yep.
Like a little bit not so self-aware there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, but probably it's on brand for like he's probably got to do stuff like that.
Well, he has to go out with his friends.
yeah,
It's New Year's Eve.
It's literally his job to
I'm
do
just kind
this.
of. I mean, like I don't know, man.
I'm guessing he looks at it more in a business sense. Than,
Yeah, but that guy dying of an opioid overdose is
Yes.
like, I don't need it, man.
Exactly.
I don't have anywhere to be next.
So he's like, he wanted them to give him an IV drip, and he probably would have paid cash, but no way they're going to allow that to happen for insurance reasons or legal
Liability.
reasons. So it says, they said it wasn't possible unless they took me to the hospital, and obviously F that. In an attempt to initiate...
Because he's got to go out with his friends.
In an attempt to initiate the rally of the century, I managed to put on my suit and go to the party for 10 minutes before I realized my fate was sealed.
Aww.
That is crazy. Like a lot of times in the world, if you're struggling with something, just going out and changing your environment and putting new stimuli in front of you is enough to help. And if not even that is enough to make him snap out of it and go to like he could have gone and drank, but he was committed to, I'm guessing, to...
I'm actually surprised he would want to go out to a party. I mean, like, I assume people are smoking there. Unless he only smokes sort of privately at home.
Probably. It says, and I realized before 10 minutes into the party that my fate was sealed. So even being out wasn't enough to help him. He said he had to call it quits. It says, as I walked back home up the cold, icy hill, defeated and disappointed, I threw up another 5 times in the street. Didn't miss a stride. So I think he was actually going through very severe withdrawals. As I walk back, it says, Paul continued, coincidentally, this is the 3rd New Year's Eve in a row where I've been deathly ill, so I theorized perhaps life has made the beginning of the past few years a nightmare for me, so I appreciate the remaining 364 days. I considered it an involuntary reset. Having been physically and mentally humbled again, it's only up from here. So that's actually a pretty good take on it. Like that's not an awful... It says, I'm feeling much better today, and I know this year is going to be astronomical for me. Say whatever you want about people like this, but they're willing to give you good advice. It just feels like it's coming from someone.
I wish he explained a little bit more, like how long he had been smoking for. Does he smoke all the time? Does he smoke daily?
If it's that bad, he's smoking daily.
To be fair, he doesn't owe me any information if he doesn't want to share it. But when he says it's an involuntary reset, did he choose to stop smoking? Did he just run out of weed? What's going on there? Because in some ways, is he just upset that he got sick? He thought he could give it up cold turkey and just call it a year.
Sounds like he puts a lot of thought into what the beginning and the end of the year mean to him. So it might have been I bet you it was a conscious decision.
Yeah. So it's not really an involuntary reset. I mean, I think in some ways he's skipping over the fact that he just he at no point during this
well, it's an involuntary reset in that he chose to do this, but
that's what I mean.
He can't choose what his body does.
But that's what I mean. What I'm saying is, it's sort of interesting that he's not acknowledging his own willpower in this. I mean, he could have, if it was really that bad, he could have smoked weed.
Yes,
he could have tried to help himself. I mean, I would like to hear more about why he's choosing to do this. Yep. Again, he doesn't owe it to me, but I'm just sort of curious.
He could, people the reason I highlight these stories is because I do believe that there's a time and place where stuff like this where it's good to talk about, especially if a lot of people, like you said, cult of personality, love celebrities and love to hear stuff about them. If it can reach somebody and they can get something from this positive, in a positive light, I think that's worth exploring.
Yeah. I think it's notable too that I don't really watch their content, but they have sort of a fraternity house-ish party vibe. Didn't they have that hype house, and it was
sounds about
no one
right.
liked being their neighbor because they're always doing crazy stunts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Being able to be look, I intentionally take time away from that lifestyle. You see it all the time because that's the content I put out, but in reality, I need a break from it. It sets a realistic standard to what you can put your mind and body through.
And as you guys know, living and working around here, that what people see is not necessarily it's also a lot more work and it's a lot less glamorous.
I know. People claim that we don't do much around here. Well, Canna Claire is not here as often, but they accuse me and Brett, mainly me, not being a good employee. And
because they see like a vlog that takes like 1 minute of one thing that happened throughout your day.
Well, and like I'm not here because I'm at home working. Like no one wants me to bring a vlog camera and set it up in front of my laptop when I sit. You know what I mean? Like there's a reality of like, we could show you B-roll of that, but like it's not.
Nobody wants to see that. It's not interesting.
Just like the same way that Logan Paul is probably not explaining in detail on his vlogs or on his social media channels,
how much work goes into
the conversations he has with his lawyers or his realtor or like the other stuff that go into making his life.
Exactly.
And that's why I think it's good to be like, there are other things going on. I'm stopping smoking weed, especially if that's like a feature of his personality. I don't know.
I think a lot of it is people don't realize how much goes on behind the scenes to make. It's the difference between a world where now television and then the internet have kind of blurred the lines about what's real and what's not. My favorite example is like, have you ever seen those like really, really staged videos on Instagram or on TikTok of like guys like a guy on a Segway comes by to like, and it's almost going to hit a girl, and a guy pushes the Segway out of the way, and then the girl's like, oh my God. And then the guy like behind the girl's back hands the Segway dude like $5 because he like set it up, like very clearly staged, but it's not framed that way. It's just shown as something that happened. Like it was
like a skit.
Like somehow it got caught on camera. So there's this weird blurred line between what reality and what is media now, because the average person can go and share their everyday life on social media, but when a person who's actually a personality or an influencer, as they like to say, when they do it, it's literally designed to look real, but is still marketing of a certain sort. It's like in the movies, it's the joke about like whenever there's like a can on camera, it's like mysteriously facing exactly at the camera so you can see the logo. It's like that, but far more subtle now.
I like when they show those like Instagram versus realities for like home stuff. So it's like you're setting up your camera, take a picture of your beautiful like living room with especially this time of year, or like, you know, the Christmas tree and the wreath and whatever else. And I've seen a couple where they'll take the picture and it looks really nice. You know, it's a beautiful house. It looks like it should be in a magazine. It's on their Instagram. And then they'll do a video where they have that shot, and then they'll pan down to where their feet are, and in the corner of the room you can't see, it's like all of their kids' toys and the jackets and like whatever gets strewn around your house during the day. And they're like, this is like for that one moment, for that picture. Exactly. It's not that it isn't part of the reality. I mean, they really have their house decorated that way. It's just that in reality, like they don't want to show you their clutter in that shot.
And so like somebody like Jake and Logan Paul, their life is the image in front of the camera, and then the business aspect of it that nobody sees is the stuff off to the side that goes into making it reality but isn't necessarily interesting enough to put on camera.
I still stand by like him being like, I begged the only emergency ambulance to give me an IV drip because I had to go to this party. Like
gotta go, man. You
know, even if it is his job, he's recording that night, like he has a big enough network where like if you are that sick, like let's just all say it together, like you can skip the party. Nothing is so interesting that's gonna happen there.
Well, you gotta see his bros.
You gotta see the guys he sees every single day.
Do you remember that news report where like he was having a party at his house and then like somebody came in with a gun? Like it was the police. Like they came in with a gun.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was like just a little bit, but then everybody was like, oh, it was staged. Basically what happened was...
See? Staged. All this stuff, man.
Logan Paul had
okay.
Yeah, yes. Logan Paul
We could do a whole episode on famous YouTubers who like are in scandals. Like, is this scene staged or not? I would love to be here for this.
Yeah. But that's the world we live in now, man. We're like... people think that those people don't have talent because they're not acting in front of like a 3 camera setup where they do multiple takes, but their skill set is just different. It's not necessarily it's more in line with modern times and modern sensibilities. The next generation, you know, even Generation Alpha will look at them the way that people in my generation and earlier look at Robert De Niro and Al Pacino and actors of that caliber.
Well, and I think they are so different. I think that like the people who are drawn to acting and film, especially like theater, are not necessarily the same personality types and have the same motivations as people who want to essentially create and star in their own reality show the way that people on YouTube often do. And it's not a dig at either one, it's just a difference.
They're just very different.
We are, because we have more ways of distributing images and video, it's not all theater release like we were just talking about. Like there are so many ways to get content out there that the variety of content and the people needed to make it you know, we are just getting more and more categories than we could ever really see before.
You can do more, like with your phone and a setup at home and a wealth of creativity than could be done ever in the past because of how many layers go into studio. You know, when something gets made, it goes from a person who you know, comes up with an idea to a script writer, from script writer to a supervisor. It gets approved. It goes through rewrites. Through rewrites, it goes into storyboarding. From storyboarding, it goes into visual design. Like, there's so many steps to it. Now, it feels almost in a way both more staged, but also more pure when somebody just does it at home on their own, on their phone or with their DSLR.
But it's interesting to me because, like, you know, an actor wouldn't necessarily, even if they... Didn't Justin Bieber say he like quit weed? He used to smoke it all the time. Like, you know, someone who's a performer in a more traditional Hollywood sense that we expect, music or movies, could do the same thing that Logan Paul has in quitting weed and having a horrible time and withdrawals and whatever else. But Logan Paul's brand and content is based on his life. But what I find interesting, and as far as I know, I don't follow it that intensely, is that he didn't, you know, do a vlog of like the week I quit weed. He could have. There's
a picture. I can go back to the. It's funny because that was actually one of the things I noticed. There's a photo from the like, it's him like bent over a sink. He's like, looks like he's stealing his resolve. He's like, I don't feel good, but like, who took that?
I gotta get to this party.
But I gotta get to this party. Who took that photo?
It's weird. It's funny because they always take like glamour shots like that. You remember when Selena Gomez got that photo of her and her best friend above their gurneys?
Oh yeah, when they were about to do the liver transplant.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.